up, everybody? It's the Lifeonaire Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. On the Lifeonaire Show, we help people make more, work less, and create lives and businesses they love. I am joined by my co-host, Polish Peter.
Yes, this is Polish Peter. That's right.
I wonder if there's another Peter out there who's also Polish, who's like, I am the original Polish Peter.
No, I am the original Polish Peter. By the way, I've actually Googled it, and I've Googled it, and what happened is, what came up is some kind of a sports guy who's competing in like sports. His name is Peter. And because he's from Poland, they call him the Polish Peter something, and he keeps popping up. So he's ruining my mojo here.
All right. Sorry about that. Well, hey, listen. So we got Tim Krulia online, Peter, and Tim is a CFO for multiple businesses. He's a virtual CFO. And what we're talking about in this episode is KPIs. Now, this stands for key performance indicators. Now, if you don't know what those are, you're going to have to definitely watch this episode. But here's the thing. These are your mile markers along your journey for business success, but you need to know what they are. And so Tim is going to talk about how to identify what are the KPIs that you need to track in your business, depending on your niche, your industry, your specific business model, and how to leverage those for growth. And I'll tell you, Peter, he ran through some examples that were shocking as to, when you start manipulating some numbers, what can happen. Now, I want to give a little disclaimer here. This is what I would consider a special edition of the podcast because Tim shares his screen. He uses a spreadsheet to run through some numbers. And yes, you should listen to it anyway, and you'll still get a good grasp of what's going on. But to get the full picture of everything Tim's talking about, I would really suggest you watch the video so you can see his screen while he's poking through all of these different line items. Because it's really, really important. And what's even cooler is Tim has agreed to share this with us. And so you'll find information as to how to get this copy of the spreadsheet in the show notes. So check that out. But this is a crucial element for businessman, knowing your KPIs and making these things something you track regularly.
Right. And listen, I don't care if you have a fruitful business, you have a big business, small business, no business. This is an episode to listen to because of the fact that what he showed in there, at one point we talked about pulling different levers, and he showed a difference between pulling the wrong lever, making the wrong business decision, versus pulling the right lever, making the right business decision. And that right business decision, just the one single lever, has doubled the revenue for that company for that year. So great episode. I really encourage you to, like Vojo said, listen on the video, watch it on the video, because you can actually experience it better. And put it in how would that affect my business? What would I put as my levers? What would I look at moving forward in 2021 and how to actually be successful in the next year coming up here?
Absolutely, man. Let's go to our interview with Timothy Krulia. Tim, what's up, man? Welcome to the Lifeonaire Show. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Me too, man. I'll tell you this. So Lifeonaire Show, we cover anything related to having a great life or business. And as it pertains to business, I thought of you specifically because we run in a lot of the same circles. I've worked with you in the past, and you work with a lot of our friends as well and colleagues in the industry. And I'm hearing consistent rave reviews about you, your team, what you guys do in helping businesses like just level up in a major way. And a lot of that has to do with your role as a CFO, and your company, I guess, provides a lot of guidance for other businesses as well in this regard. Tell people a little bit about yourself, what you do and how you're able to do this. And today specifically, we're talking about a little bit more about KPIs. So maybe you can lead into that a little bit as well.
Yeah, you bet. Well, first I'd like to start by just saying that I read the book years ago, the Lifeonaire book, and my wife read it as well, and we made some changes in our own personal finances because of it, and it has really paid dividends for us over the years. So
that's awesome,
I'm glad
man.
I'm able to hop on your show and give at least something back, hopefully, to the other folks that are in your that are your listeners. My background is in accounting and finance, and with small businesses. Business development and consulting. And I started my business called My CFO Pro in 2009. And it's been a great 10 plus years of working in some different areas. Primarily now we work with a lot of companies that are in the information marketing space, affiliate marketing, software as a solution, real estate investment niche, and some others, but that's, those are the big ones. And I'm glad that you mentioned that you've been hearing good things and around our space. That makes me feel great. And, that's a testament to the team here at My CFO Pro. They're a bunch of really good, smart, hardworking people, and they I think they deserve those compliments as well. So thanks for that. So you had asked me, I think it was in an email a couple weeks ago, what are the main KPIs that a company needs to follow and that they need to track? And when I was thinking about how to answer that, it's not so easy to just say you need to do these three things, okay? Because every company is different. Even if it's companies that are in the same industry, the same niche in the same industry, they're going to be paying attention to different metrics, different KPIs on a regular basis. Some of their frequency of watching those KPIs is going to be more than others, weekly, monthly, daily, even. And so I thought, okay, well, how do we help the Lifeonaire community the best by trying to accomplish the goal of saying, these are the KPIs that are going to be beneficial. And really, I think that by just adjusting the question a little bit is to say, what tool or how can we arrive at, by using a tool, to find out what KPIs are most beneficial for the listeners' companies.
And can we pause right there? And for the people that are unfamiliar with the term KPI, what is a KPI?
It's just simply key performance indicator.
Okay. And what do these things typically kind of look at? I mean, I know there's a range, but what's the purpose of having them?
Yeah. One of the things that we do in our company for some of our larger clients is we have a report that we call it the Check Your Pulse. So, like a business owner should always be able to have their, the finger on their pulse of their business, so they know, what are the most important things that are happening to it, so that they can continue to, to guide that business in, specific directions, keep it on course. So KPIs can be really simple things. They can be units sold of a product. It can be complex type industry specific things like return on ad spend for cold traffic. Or if you're a company that has a subscription based model, you would want to know what's your churn rate. So, what's the cancellation rate? What's your retention rate? How long is somebody who orders your software product and pays monthly, how many months, actually how many days are they on average going to stick? So those are some examples of KPIs that, a business owner has to know in order to guide their business successfully.
Man, so that's the key here. Is it sounds like that, like, I love you have this check your pulse. That's so relevant, because if you don't have a pulse, you're dead, right? And so, I think I love that. And I see a lot of businesses that have no clue of any of this stuff. They're looking at their bank account balances like, this is how I'm running my business. And I've heard of you going in to businesses, really doing a deep dive, determine what those KPIs are, and really just transforming businesses, because these KPIs can be used to make decisions, for strategic planning, to fix holes in your boat, like all kinds of really, really important things. It's not just a theoretical exercise. It's not an analytical, jumping jacks where we're just going to do it to do it. Like, there's a function behind having these.
Yeah. And I think a big part of it is what rhythm that you can get into, being able to review these kinds of numbers. You don't want to have paralysis by analysis and be in the numbers too much. You just need to know, okay, here's where we stand. Here's what a trend is forming or not, and what that might look like. And then you need to know, okay, well, if I can make these little adjustments to these specific KPIs or metrics, what kind of an effect is that going to have on my business?
Right.
One of the things we will do that is really useful for clients is our end of month reviews. Month end, it's our busy time every month, first week of every month. Part of that is preparing a report that we call the critical KPI tracker. So, where that may have some overlap in the check your pulse reports that are done on a weekly basis, the ones at the end of the month, the critical KPI tracker is going to be a little more inclusive. It's going to be a little more in depth. It's going to take into effect the entire month. And then you can look at the trends of the previous months. And then you can also take a look at, okay, well, how are we performing in these KPIs compared to the plan that we had for the beginning of the year, right? And odds are, if you're on track with the KPIs that you put in your plan, you're probably having a pretty successful year, as long as you built your plan, your budget, your forecasts to be successful.
So I got a quick question, because I want to make sure that we don't overlook this, because I think the other part of the KPIs, on the other side of it, is your business goals. You got to be clear on your business goals are, right? To be able to figure out what to track. And I feel like sometimes people are not very clear, business owners are not clear on what their goals are. Can you speak a little bit about that, about whether it's about clarifying what the goals are? Do you guys talk about that with the business owner, about clarifying those? And
Peter, you nailed it. That's exactly
That's
it.
what I do here, man. I nail it. I nail stuff.
Yeah, that was perfect. So, I mean, really, it's kind of the appropriate time of the year to talk about budgets. It's budget season. Most companies will kick their year off on January 1.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the first question, right, that you think about is, okay, well, what are our major goals? What are the big rocks that we want to achieve for the year? And that's the starting point. From there, you build a plan. The plan is, we call it the budget. It's basically, you take a business, the way that the business operates, replicate that into an Excel model, and then run scenario analysis to see what, if you make one change to a KPI, what is the net income effect, and what is the effect of the other variables within the budget. And so now you're able to say, okay, well, cool. These are the goals that we want to achieve. This is the plan in which to achieve them. And these are the KPIs that we have to keep ourselves honest with and achieve on a regular basis all throughout the period that is the plan, which is usually like a 12-month or a one-year plan. It just kind of just wraps itself up pretty simply. And I put together a really simplified budgeting tool. Mm-hmm. And I thought that would be a good exercise to share with the community. And we could walk through the budgeting tool, and then we could run a few scenarios to show, if you're the business owner and you have some big ideas, well, are those good ideas? Are they going to have a positive or negative effect on your income, on your profit for the year?
Let's do it.
Pretty awesome, man. Yeah. Thank you for doing that, man. Our listeners are jumping up and down right now, excited for this. So, and by the way, we're Tim.
Is this an Excel sheet, by the way?
Of course.
Oh my God, Vojo's gonna be like glowing.
Yeah.
I think you just totally struck a chord right there. All right, and look at him light up, Tim.
Oh yeah.
If you guys are watching it on the video, watch Tim light up when I say Excel sheet. Of course, it's an Excel sheet, right?
Right.
Let's do it.
So so if you're on YouTube right now watching this, you can Tim is going to share his screen, and so we'll be able to kind of see this tool. We also will have it available. Tim, we'll figure out a way to get this from you and make it available for our people, and check out the show notes for how to get your copy of this.
Good.
Is that your daughter?
Yes.
Wow.
She's a kindergartner. This was her first day of kindergarten picture that she took. So
oh man, adorable.
Love it. Look at her. She's gorgeous.
Yeah, she's actually home sick right now. Okay, well, should we just
dude,
go
this
ahead?
this looks like ninja stuff. You got multiple tabs here. I mean, this is heavy duty. This is simple for you. All right. Well,
This is the simplified version. Yeah,
okay,
I
got
kind of made it real easy to follow, and basic Excel skills can just take this. Whoever takes it from here and
Awesome.
All right.
amplify it in their own, customize it to their business.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Well, basically, there's just a few tabs. Okay, we've got the key, which is, if you kind of look at it this way, it's basically looking like the line items that you would see on an income statement, right? You got your revenue and your COGS, or variable expenses, and then your regular expenses. And our second tab is metrics. So this is where we can change a lot of the revenue generation pieces to the business's model. The COGS is obviously, it's just going to basically be these types of expenses explained. We'll take a look at who was our W-2s and who are our 1099 contractors, and then we'll look at our regular expenses one by one, and they all wrap up into an income statement. And that income statement, to me, is really what I'm going to call the budget, because at the end of the day, that's what we're going to see. And that budget is going to be a monthly, each month gets its own column in Excel. So we'll be able to take a look and, okay, well, here's how we're doing this month, et cetera, for throughout the year. And then we've got something that we can, try to match or exceed. So let's get started. Let's talk about revenue. What kind of business do we want to do? How about a company that makes chairs?
All right.
Anything, right? Okay, chairs. And for this company, let's just say they only make one product, just to make this real simple. What are the metrics that go into generating revenue for a chair company? Well, let's see. You got to start out with activities that generate customer traffic. Now, you can apply this however you want. I work with a lot of companies that generate traffic online exclusively. This is an example of a company that can generate traffic inside a store, which would be this first type of activity. It's going to generate activity by sending out physical pieces of mail, and it's going to generate traffic by having its own list of emails that it can blast to on a frequent basis. Fair enough?
Yep.
Okay. So in this scenario that I just kind of built out here yesterday was, let's say that this is a company that has a single store. And so that means that there's one store each month, if you look across here, that customers can go in and, take a look at their chairs. And let's say that there's 5,000 people that walk through the door on a given month. And let's say that 2% of those 5,000 people that walk through the door actually purchase a chair. And let's say the chair costs $55. So you do a little bit of math, and that pumps out that, okay, that there's 100 chairs that are going to get sold by those people that walked into the store. And that's going to generate $5,500 of revenue. Let's say 3% of them refund, $165 of refunds. And that's what you can expect if we pop in these specific KPIs for that kind of company for that month. Same thing goes for a physical mail blast. Let's say we want to do a big blast of mail, physical mail, out on the 1st and the 16th of each month for the year. And that's the initial plan. We can send it out to 2,900 residences. Let's say that's a great conversion rate. 6% of the people who receive this mail end up paying $55 for a chair. That means almost 350 chairs are sold, which is $19,000 plus dollars, and 5% of them refund. And so there's like about $1,000 gets refunded. Same kind of idea for email. And for email, we're just going to say it's, once about every 10 days, we'll send out an email blast to 6,000 people. 1% of them convert to a sale at the same dollar amount, $55. And that generates 180 sales or almost $10,000 and a little mild refund rate of 4% or $400. Okay. So we just keep these numbers all the same for each month, just for this initial run through. And then we run a couple scenarios just to see how powerful just a little tweak here and there in these KPIs can radically change, for good or bad, the forecast, the budget, the profit for a year. So the next tab is basically a summary of what was going on in the metrics. So this just wraps up and tells you about how much revenue is going to get generated, how much refunds are going to get generated, and what that net is going to be. So gross revenue minus refunds is net revenue. Right? In this case, it's about 33,000. We can see that, if we add up the number of chairs that get sold from the 3 different types of activities, 628 per month. So those are unit counts. These are also different kinds of KPIs, and they can be cut up and divided by, multiplied by in different ways to get, different ratios that are the types of KPIs that companies are going to want to pay attention to. How about this? A real simple KPI, just an example. What is the net revenue? What's the average net revenue that this company is getting per chair? It's an easy calculation, right? You take your revenue, net revenue, which is gross revenue minus refunds, 33,000 divided by the number of units sold. It's $52, $52.58. That's what you're really netting every time you sell a chair. It is a KPI. Maybe it's interesting for a company, maybe it's not. If it's a high refund rate company, yeah, it's really important. Okay, so then cost of goods sold, just keeping it simple. Let's say that there's a person that is handling the sales for this company, online, offline, whatever, and about half of the orders that come through were generated by the salesperson, and the salesperson gets paid a 35% commission. And there's your math. That's what that person's going to get paid. Merchant account fees. Let's say that 75% of your customers are paying with a credit card, and the other 25% pay with cash or a check. Okay, well, let's say your average merchant account fee is 3.75%. Now you know what that cost is going to be, so that you can have a placeholder there. What's your product creation cost? Let's say it costs about $1.96 to put together a chair, and it costs $2.76 to buy the materials for the chair, and it costs $4.90 to ship the chair, right? And then we're just deciding, okay, well, 100% of them have to get created, 100% of them have to have materials, and all of them except for the ones that are in the store that are sold have to get shipped. Okay, so those numbers just kind of populate in there. The formulas do the rest. So far, so good?
Yep.
Okay. Let's talk about people. Let's say you've got an employee. Let's say maybe this employee is also the business owner. And let's say her name is Julie. Okay, Julie gets paid $4,000 in salary a month because she's a W-2. And it's a small business, so she's the only one. And let's say she's got somebody that works for her that does all kinds of things, including sitting at the front desk of her store and watching the customers and helping them out. And let's call him Bob. And he gets paid $3,500 a month. Okay. And let's say Julie is taking member draws as well at $3,500 per month. Okay. And the reason why that's different is because member draws don't get calculated into net income. Okay. It's more of a balance sheet equity type item versus something that you're going to see in revenue and expenses. So you want to separate that out. Now let's talk about the company's regular expenses. And just keep going really quickly, right? So let's say it costs $750 every time you want to do a big mail, like physical mail blast. Let's say there's a company car $300. Let's say there's bank fees, $25, computer and internet expenses, $250. On down the line, if you're taking a look at the YouTube video here, you can kind of see what these typical type of expenses look like. And some of these expenses are going to be by the number of stores. You know, if you've got one store and it costs $2,000 for rent, okay. Well, if you have two stores, it's going to cost maybe like $4,000 for rent per month. Okay, so that's all built in here. And then so once you go through basically what we did as a first draft, now we're looking at this is what the budget is. Okay, so you know everything was the same basically every single month in our first draft. So all the numbers look the same here, month by month. So we're coming out to about $400,000 in net revenue. That's revenue after refunds are deducted. Then we're at about $150,000 of cost of goods sold, which are your variable expenses, and giving you a general a gross margin of about 250, and that's 63% gross margin as a percent. That's really good. You kind of always, there's a rule of thumb that I like to do is to try to be somewhere around, and every company is very different, but a lot of the companies I work with, you want to be about 2/3 on your gross margin as a percent, and this one's really close to that, so that's good.
And so gross margin is simply the net revenue divided by or cost of goods divided by net revenue.
It's your net revenue less COGS.
Less cost. Okay, got it.
Yep. And that's going to depend on like what kind of a company it is, because brick and mortar is going to probably have less of a percentage than online business.
Exactly, because every different kind of company is, you know, going to be heavier on variable costs versus just, you know, regular overhead costs. Right. Or less heavy. It just, you know, it depends on the business type.
Yep.
You know, like a lot of companies that I work with, they have little to no physical product that gets sold. You know, a lot of digital products carry basically no expenses for materials, for producing the product that's sold, or the shipping costs. So, you know, that makes it so that they can, in most cases, spend more money on advertising and growing their business and scaling. So, every company's different. So that's where it is. Again, like, you know, well, what are the most important KPIs for a business? I don't know. Everyone's different. So you gotta ask the question of how do we get to find that out?
Yep.
For a company, that's what we're doing. So in this case, this is kind of where the fun starts. We're gonna say, all right, on our first draft, we have a $70,000 profit for this company. And let's say we started the year with a cash balance in the company's checking account of 50 grand. And if you take a look at what the cash change would be, you know, what's the cash balances in that account over the course of the year, it grows from 50,000 to 78,000. Again, that's going to be one of those scenarios where, you know, if you pull out the member draws that the owner is taking, all you're doing is you're saying, here's the beginning balance of my checking account from the previous month, add the income, subtract the member draws. There's your ending balance. Okay. Super simplified. Sometimes it can get a little more hectic than that. Of course it does, but you know, keeping it easy.
All right. So listen, so basically up to this point, what I'm hearing is this is how much I'm making. This is how much I'm making after I subtract all my expenses and all that kind of stuff. So I know these numbers for the entire year. I'm projecting all these numbers, right? How much I have in my bank account. And now let's look at what are the KPIs that I want to track, right? What is it that we want to do now?
Right. So, you know, you might have just gone through your first draft of your budget and said, you know what, that's perfect. Those are the exact goals that I wanted. I want to have one store. I want to be able to pay myself, if I'm the business owner, a $4,000 salary. I have a goal of showing a profit of $70,000 and increasing my cash balance in my account from 50 to 78,000, and those are your goals, and that's what you wanted to do, then you know for sure that these are the metrics, or this is at least one way that the metrics will work for you to accomplish those goals. But let's say you're looking at that and thinking, gosh, I really would like to figure out a way to maybe make 150,000 in profit next year. What do I need to do? How does this need to change in order for me to do that? So, obviously you're going to start asking questions. You're going to probably start with, with the velocity of activities. What if you said, okay, well, what if we went from 1 store to 2 stores? If I had 2 stores, I'd have 10,000 people walking through there every day. That's a lot more than 5,000 people in just 1 store, right? Maybe that's going to be the ticket. Maybe that's what I need in order to really see my business grow in profit. Makes sense to ask the question, right? So let's just say, let's just try it. All right, so instead of 1 store being open every month of the year, let's say there were 2. What's the net income effect? Shrink the net income.
Whoa.
That kind of the negative effect of what you might have thought it would be. And why is that? Well,
cost.
Yeah, it costs money to have that store and the people in the store and the utilities and all the other things that maybe come along with that. Okay, so let's back that back up, because maybe that's not the direction we want to go. Maybe we should stay with just a single store. What if we see, okay, these physical mail blasts, this conversion rate's really great. It's the highest conversion rate we have from a customer, like a lead, traffic to an order. So what if we instead of doing 1 every other week or so, what if we did 1 every single week? So let's just say we did 4 a month for the year, and let's just assume that the conversion rates and the prices of the product all stayed the same. Okay. What's the net income effect? Hello. Right? So we're jumping from 70-something thousand to 188,000. So that's a KPI that we would probably want to consider ramping up, right? Number of physical mail blasts to hopefully be able to keep similar types of conversion rates. Let's just say though that, now if, what if the conversion rate drops to 4% because now we're mailing maybe the same people over and over again, and they're not going to convert at the same rate? Well, it's going to drop us back down to 98,000 as a profit. So you can tweak every single one of these KPIs that are in here. You can change your velocity of your activities. You can, if you're changing your activities, it's possible that the number of customer traffic also changes. It's possible that the conversion rates change. It's possible you want to do some price testing, right? You want to say, okay, well, what would it be if I could change this price of the chair and the mail to $75? Bumps me way back up in profit again, right? We can change our refund rates based on it, but a lot of these things are going to be consistent from the previous year, though, unless you're doing something radically different with your marketing, or you do something very different in your store, or, however you want to tweak or twist the way that you've been doing things in the past. You can pretty much forecast in the future what's going to come.
All right. What I like about this spreadsheet, Tim, is a couple of things. One, it allows you to be very clear on which lever to pull in your business, pulling the right lever, because I think a lot of times what happens with business owners is they don't look at the numbers, and numbers will tell you everything in your business, right? They don't look at the numbers, and what ends up happening is they start pulling the wrong lever to make an impact on their business, right? And what ends up happening, either they get into the weeds of doing stuff, or they start pulling the wrong lever. Like if you're looking at the business Like for instance, this a brick and mortar selling a chair. It makes total sense to open up another store. I mean, if you have more stores, you'll be making more money, right? But if you start looking, what's that?
You might think that, yeah,
right.
It's natural to think that okay, yeah, open up, let's franchise this. Let's, is that really the best choice?
Right. That makes total sense. And the other thing is, from what the Lifeonaire is, what we talk about here, right? Be very clear on those goals, right? The vision, what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to get to. And this spreadsheet, what I'm hearing is it allows you to get more clarity on whether or not you're getting closer to your vision or further away. Because for instance, if you want to make X number of dollars a year, it's not necessarily that you open up another store and you open up another store. Now it's taking away time from you to doing all this stuff that you wanted to do, and it's not making enough money. And that's why I think a lot of people get into trouble when they're building businesses is that 5 years later, 10 years later, they have this huge monster and they wonder, how did I get here? And that's one of the reasons why this happens.
Yeah. The other thing too, I agree with you, is confidence. If you feel like you know your numbers and you're keeping track of them on a regular basis, you're going to be very confident in pulling that next lever versus being like, oh, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. And a tool like this is great because, sometimes it's not just like one magic bullet, like one single lever that's going to really change the whole thing, but, like a combination of a few different levers, that really get you to a better place for your business, more sustainable long term.
Right.
Well, this looks very different. I think most business owners take the spaghetti approach. Let's throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall and see what happens. And hey, we'll try this, we'll try that. And there's no intention behind it. There's no deliberate kind of analysis based on an objective tool like this. And so what I love about this is, so what I'm understanding, and just tell me if this is correct. So basically a business owner, this is a great template, but someone will have to get their own version of this tweaked, created, where it includes all of their inputs and outputs and all their processes, things like that. And then start messing around with the numbers. And there's going to be some surprises. Hey, what happens if we change just by 1%? What happens if we mail out another 100 pieces? What happens, whatever, and then make decisions. And your suggestion then basically like, hey, let's go with the lowest hanging fruit first. Let's see which lever makes the biggest change and kind of go do that first. And go from there. Is that typically the recommendation you have people?
Yeah. I think that would be smart.
Okay. And what about, talk to me a little bit about, someone might be looking at this right now and they're like, okay, this sounds great, but like, is this, it seems there's a lot of assumptions that also have to be made. How do I adjust how much time do I give a change to take root? Like, what if, like you messed around with the purchase rates, conversion rates from those mailers. How does somebody kind of play with this in real time to adjust for what actually occurs so that they can kind of keep this still functional and useful?
Well, since every company is different, there's so many different ways to do marketing. But, I would say that if you're going to invest in a form of marketing, try your best to be able to get excellent tracking on that type of marketing and that send or that, the promotion. There's so many CRMs and tools and online traffic tracking software available. I personally really wouldn't be like, okay, well, I'm just going to put up these billboards and hope for the best and have no idea how,
right.
People are coming to my car wash, for example. You can always ask people, how did you hear about us? But how much of that data is really going to get compiled into something that's going to be specific enough to be able to make these kinds of really solid forecast projections through these calculations. Working with online companies predominantly has been really great for us because we have access to the data. The way that we do our bookkeeping even is just, it's designed so that we're pulling information from merchant accounts and CRMs to be able to know the exact unit count for every different product that's sold, and how many clicks become opt-ins, how many opt-ins become orders, how many customers are repeat customers, and what's their lifetime values. The better access that a company can have to the data behind the marketing and sales that they're doing, they're just going to be further ahead, and be able to they're going to be able to have the confidence to grow their business based on numbers versus their gut.
Yeah. One other thing, because you brought up confidence, I think this is really important in regards to this particular spreadsheet, is a lot of times, especially like during this particular time of what we're going through right now, some businesses, what they're doing, they're pulling marketing, they're pulling certain things because they want to go and, buckle down or whatever it might be, right? And what ends up happening is by doing that, they're actually shooting themselves in the foot to be able to actually grow and pivot or whatever it is in this business. And what ends up happening is when you have a spreadsheet like this, I think what happens is when you're looking at these levers and looking at which one do I pull that's going to have, maybe it's not going to take a lot of energy to pull the lever, but it's going to make the biggest difference. And see if I just go and put this marketing in place, right? This amount of money and how much that's going to impact the bottom line, I think it gives you the confidence to go and put that money down towards it as opposed to going the other way. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah. Are we talking about a complete paradigm shift that's permanent, or are we talking about something temporary that just needs to have a bridge basically built to go from, okay, well, I know that because of the election, online traffic is going to be extremely expensive and very difficult to have a decent return on investment.
Right.
Therefore,
that happened this past.
It sure did happen. And so I'm looking at that from a CFO's perspective. Okay, well, how do we build a bridge between August and after the election in November so that the business is not losing a ton of profit and net income negative? How do we just work our way through the storm in a temporary environment when we have a lot of confidence that things are going to return back to normal after something like a presidential election? COVID-19 is temporary, right? I think everybody would believe that. And as if and when it goes away, or vaccines, et cetera, are available, normal type brick and mortar type businesses that are, those that have been affected the most will probably start to come back proportionally to the pandemic lessening. So yeah, you've got to figure out a way to build that bridge. And in a normal atmosphere, do you continue to pour money into marketing when you know that your return is going to be lousy? That's a tough decision, and that's a very business specific decision. You have to think about the long-term and the short-term ramifications. So, I would honestly go back to a model of something kind of this nature, believe it or not, and say, okay, well, if we are dealing with this for X number of months, let's look at our reserves, let's look at our long-term, short-term effects, and let's make the best decisions for this business. As far as overhead costs, where can we sharpen our pencils, what way maybe we can negotiate with vendors, and then the all important pivoting of figuring out, well, if I can't get people, like for this business, I can't get people to walk into my store to buy the chairs. I just need to figure out a better way to sell online or some other way to get sales to come through and keep that revenue line item strong while we're going through a weird temporary setback.
Right. So this is still good for that too. And even this doesn't necessarily tell you how to pivot, but you might be able to look at like, hey, this is killing us. What's the effect if we get rid of this? And do your analysis, just like you did the analysis for the other way when, hey, let's see how this improves the business. Hey, we can see how we can minimize losses by changing this variable here as well.
Yep.
That's super powerful, man. And so can you kind of just wrap up for us then as we talk about which KPIs to track? What your recommendation would be then is to kind of look at the levers in your business and see which ones that you're actively involved in, which ones will have, and then I guess just monitor those regularly on some sort of tempo, regular basis, whether it's weekly, daily, monthly, so that you can get a pulse for the business. Is that accurate?
That's a beautiful summation. Yes. Okay.
Dude, I'll tell you, I can't believe you put this together for us, man. Our listeners are just like blown away. If you were listening to this without the screen, you're going to have a hard time. Hopefully you still got the lessons, but I'd really encourage you to go check out the video because there's a lot of detail here. And this is phenomenal, man. Like this is just what a gift. So I want to thank you for on Lifeonaire's behalf, as well as everyone who's get to benefit from this.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
So how do people learn more about you, man? And how do they find you?
Oh, it's mycfopro.biz. It's our website. And from there, you can just email me. And if there's something that our company could do for any of your listeners, and maybe there's a good fit for our service.
Very cool. Very cool. Thanks, Tim. Catch you later.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Dude, I'll tell you, man, my mind was blown when he started messing around with those numbers, and the numbers like changed. It's not just like, 1-to-1 or 2-to-1, or, I mean, there's some unpredictable results that happen when you start messing with these numbers. And what I see is a lot of people, they'll just start, hey, we'll try this, we'll try that, we'll see what sticks. And that can have catastrophic results. In one case, you might lose money, right? So this is, man, what an important piece of this business equation.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I don't see a lot of people doing their business, looking at the numbers, because in this particular example, look, logically speaking, you go and build another store, right? You open up another store. But if you look at the numbers, you actually end up making less money. And what ends up happening is a lot of businesses get into the weeds, get into making the wrong decisions to not help them grow that business. And especially now in today's world, I think it's so much more important to be able to look at those numbers and asking yourself, which lever do I need to pull that's going to get me there quicker? It's going to be simpler or whatever it might be. Because if I just pull this lever, all of a sudden I can project I'm going to make a lot more money. And the other thing that he mentioned, I think that's really important, is confidence. Because I think even during these times when there is some uncertainty, having that confidence, pulling the right lever in your business is going to make a huge difference. Like whether it's marketing or real estate people, how they're, should I market more? Should I market less? Should I do this? Should I do that? And that answers a lot of those questions.
Well, you can't argue with numbers, right? They're objective, they're solid. You can make projections and forecasts based off of them. And I know things change, and we kind of talked about that a little bit in the episode, like what to do if things don't pan out exactly the way you thought. But you can simply, okay, hey, we're getting a 4% return versus a 6%. Let's plug it in and see what that looks like. Hey, we're still in good shape. Or, it gives you, or you could look at it and say like, hey, my percentage dropped. What can I do to increase my copy? Or you can look at, hey, my open rate for this or for that, or my conversion rate. You can start to examine where the holes are in your business, as well as where's the biggest leverage points to really make changes. Now, he also mentioned you got to keep track of these. You gotta like, it's a habit you got to develop to look at your numbers. But I love this whole concept. And I think it's really underappreciated and underutilized. But if you start to look at KPIs, look at your numbers, stay on top of it. It's just such a benefit to your business. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Like we mentioned earlier, it is kind of a special edition podcast because of the screen share. You can get this spreadsheet from Tim. This is an incredible gift for you that he has so graciously provided. And so the show notes will have the information as how to do that. If you enjoyed the episode, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave us some comments, some reviews. If you have a guest that you'd like us to feature on the show, go on over to lifeonaire.com and there's an app tab, and you can even let us know who you would like to hear from, who you'd like to be on the Lifeonaire Show. And so we'll consider that as well. Now, if you want to be part of the Lifeonaire community and be part of the discussions going on, head on over to our live Lifeonaire app, where every day, fantastic discussions about everything Lifeonaire, including business, including life, including everything along those lines, are going on every single day. They're awesome. You can jump right on in, download that for your mobile device, or go ahead and do that on your desktop. They just launched a brand new desktop version, which is really streamlined and cool and very, 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 very fun. And so I would go ahead and do that now. And we have a special gift for you over there as well, our Lifeonaire Fast Start Kit, so you can start on your own Lifeonaire journey. Thanks again for listening. It's been a pleasure, honor. We are humbled to have you guys participate in this weekly podcast. Until next time, get those KPIs done and live free. See you, everyone.